Ready, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Let me call to order the November 19th, 2020 meeting of the City of Fort Lauderdale Board of Adjustment. The City of Fort Lauderdale is hosting the Board of Adjustment hearing in both virtual and in-person format. Any member of the public that is interested in speaking before the board is required to complete the virtual speaker card. Any member of the public that is interested in speaking before the board in person may stand up to speak at the meeting or by using the virtual speaker card. Due to COVID-19 distance requirements, there's a very limited amount of seating available. Therefore, we are encouraging members, we're really encouraging members of the public to participate virtually wherever possible and whenever possible. The public will be able to listen to and view the board meetings at www.fortlauderdale.gov/FLTV, www.youtube.com/City of Fort Lauderdale, as well as on Comcast Channel 78 and AT&T UVerse Channel 99. To speak on an agenda item, please click, well, they can't click on the link, they're not seeing it. Very good. And if we can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Bridget, can we do a roll call? 2 seconds.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Also, your screen indicates that you're Bert Ford. Do you know how to correct that?
I have absolutely no idea how to correct that, but I've never minded being Bert Ford.
Okay. There's 3 dots on the right top of your screen. If you click on that, it allows you to rename. Okay. Vice Chair Patrick McTeague.
Present.
Eugenia Ellis. Carrie Villeneuve.
Here.
Douglas Reynolds.
Here.
Blaze McGinley.
Here.
Chadwick Maxey.
Here.
Alternate Chip Falkinger. Alternate Shelley Eichner. Shelley, you're on mute.
Muted.
Okay, thank you. And Mike Lambrechts.
Here.
Alternate. Thank you. And Chair Howard Nelson.
Here.
Okay, thank you. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Can we have a swear in for anyone speaking tonight?
Chair,
Yes.
before that, I would like to say from the city, Nadia Ford and Muhammad Malik, and I don't know Mr. Spence. Heard it, but Mr. Spencer.
Do that. We also have
Spence is here.
virtually on the dais, Mr. Dwayne Spence, the counsel for the board.
Great, thank you.
Okay, did you want me to do the swearing in?
I think you're going to have to.
Okay. Anybody who's going to speak tonight, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if we can walk through the agenda and let's see if we need to reorder the agenda. Item 1, Lydia Bethel. Is Miss Bethel here? Ms. Bethel, how long do you think you need for your presentation? 5 minutes? We love you for that. Item number 2, Lennar Homes. Who's here representing Lennar Homes? Dina? How long do you think you need for your presentation? 5 minutes? We love you for that as well. Sorry, is there anybody else who wanted to speak on the Lennar Homes matter? Anybody else who wanted to?
Mr. Chair, this is Kerry Villeneuve. I just wanted to let you know that I will be recusing myself for the Lennar Homes matter. So to the extent having a alternate around to take that factors into the order tonight, I just wanted to let you know.
Well, Carrie, thank you for letting me know that. We're going to have to make sure we have alternates because I will also need to recuse myself.
Chair, I think few of the people are virtually going to speak on this matter.
All right, so we'll leave a little bit more time for it. Perfect. Item number 3, which is RRPIV WF Fort Lauderdale. Andy Shine representing. Andy, are you here? Hey, Robert, how are you? About how long do you think you'll need? 10 minutes. Ever the pessimist. And item number 4, Diofe, Daphne, and Gerard, which there is a request for a deferral on that. Why don't we take that matter up right now and we can get it on and off the agenda? Dwayne, anything on the deferral item? There's been a request to defer this to the next board meeting. Counsel for this, as I understand it, is unavailable.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I can't hear you very well. If you could speak closer to the mic, and when you turn your head to the left or right, I lose you.
Got it. I'll try to see if I can get the mic into my mouth, just about, with the mask. Mr. Stenson, we have a request.
So
Is there any advice to the board before we take it up?
Sure. The request is coming from the applicant. It's at the board's discretion as to whether or not to grant the deferral.
Is there a motion with respect to the deferral?
I would like to make a motion to defer case number PLN BOA 200300003 until the next meeting.
The next board meeting. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. McTeague. Any comments, questions, discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I was sorry. I was late. I was voting. I was in favor.
Little delayed aye there. Okay. Motion passes unanimously. So item number 4 is delayed or is deferred until the December agenda. Why don't we start with item number 1, Lydia Bethel, and before we move on to the item in chief, any disclosures? And I'm going to actually start on the screen. Mr. McTeague, any disclosures?
No disclosure. Also, just remember, we have to do the minutes from last meeting. We have to approve those.
Got it. Thank you very much for the reminder.
Yep. No disclosure.
Mr. Lambrex?
No disclosures.
Very good. Mr. Reynolds?
None.
Mr. Villeneuve?
No disclosure. And I just wanted to let you know that on the Zoom, never mind. No disclosures.
Got it. It still shows me as Bert Ford, except now it's Bert Ford's picture in there.
No, we were getting some questions from the public on the chat. And so I thought maybe there would be a necessity to address kind of how that process would work. But it appears that it's being addressed by the city. So I should have just kept my mouth shut.
Thanks for the comment anyway.
Actually, the chat should be disabled. So moderator, if you would disable the chat, we have some issues with public records and quasi-judicial record keeping. So the chat should be disabled for this meeting.
It's
Thank you for pointing that out.
All right. Mr. Maxey? Any
Yes, sir.
disclosures?
None.
Disclosures?
None.
And none for myself. All right, Ms. Bethel. The floor is yours, such as it is.
Chair, we're not hearing anything online. I don't.
Actually, nothing's being said online, so
Okay.
that's.
Okay, great, wonderful.
You can speak and you can forward backwards. I've never seen this chamber this quiet before.
Good evening, board members and neighbors. My name is Lydia Bethel, and tonight my presentation is for the enclosure of my carport. And I built it approximately 1 foot onto my setback. So let's start. Okay, so this is what my carport looked like before we enclosed it. That column where the red arrow is showing is what was knocked down. It was asked of me by the architect to knock that down. Here's another slide of it from the inside of the house facing west towards the road. Those red columns there that I have enclosed. So that's the before. Here is after. I did knock down the column. When I knocked down the column, it revealed a steel post that you'll see in other slides. It's blue. You can look for that. Here's the northwest corner of that same column that is in question. Here's a side view of that corner of that room. Here is the slab. This slab was actually poured after we asked the city to come and do a job check. And this is where the slab starts and ends there. Here's the framing on top of this, the slab facing west. Okay, so here is a view of the slab, and slightly on the left bottom corner, you'll see a blue steel post. That is what we enclosed. Here's a better photo of it. So we were asked to knock down the column. We knocked down the column. But when we knocked down the column, it revealed this blue steel post. So believing that that steel post was original to the house and structural, we enclosed it. We asked the gentleman who came to do the job check if it was okay to come out this far, and he told us yes, not realizing that that was going to be problematic for us. Here's just the framing of that same wall in question. Here's the contractor doing the wire lath on there. Here's a view of my property. That's my neighbor on the north side of me. You can see there's no sidewalk on my side of the street as yet. A view of the finished property. And here's a view from that from my property again, facing south now. Okay, and my reason for enclosing this structure was to start an in-home business, a childcare business. So here's the northwest corner that is finished. Southwest interior corner. And here's the job check that I was able to pull up. The gentleman, the note that is the arrow that is pointing there reads double A, I guess it's conversion. Need to put bonding agent between new slab and existing slab. Slab also lift wire up on existing slab. Okay to take pictures and have at next inspection. So this is what the gentleman told us before we actually poured the slab. And here is just his information. It's a partial building, slab, sidewalk, patio, and this was completed by Mr. Glenn Davis. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the board?
No.
Any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? In that case, I'll close the public hearing portion of this. No, any questions of staff?
No.
I've got a couple of quick questions of staff. Mr. Malik, before the construction for the enclosure, was the front of the existing carport still 0.85 feet into the front setback? In other words, did the enclosure increase the nonconformity? And I think I know the answer, which is no, but I'll wait for you guys to tell me.
Here, from what the plans I have here, what she's shown, it says 25 feet in here. So exactly, I don't have the permit plans with me, but what she has submitted in here in the plans, it shows us 25 feet. So probably I'm thinking they might have asked a building inspector when he was there to check the footing. And he said, he might have, said, yes, it's okay, looking at the footing, probably not knowing, but when it comes to final survey and zoning, we look at the final survey because we probably approved it because it showed 25 feet. And when the final survey came in, it was not 25 feet.
Got it. I think I'm asking more of a field question.
Right.
Does it look like the actual front of that, notwithstanding the 25 feet, was actually at 24.15?
Being an architect and looking at the drawings, yes, I can say.
That's exactly what it looks like to me. And that's the beginning and end of my questions. The public hearing having been opened and closed. I'll wait for a motion if anyone's ready.
I'd like to make a motion to approve case number 1, PLN BOA 200900002.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any comment from the board? In that case, let's do this by just a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
was that motion made by Mr. McGinley
Yes.
The motion was made by Mr. McGinley.
and seconded by Mr. Villeneuve?
Seconded by, was it seconded by you? What?
I have no idea.
Is your mic open?
It is on. It was seconded.
Seconded by Mr. Falkinger.
Yes.
So much. Thank
The
you.
greatest compliment of Mr. Falkinger's entire life, being mistaken for me.
Thank you very much, ma'am. The motion is approved.
Thank you all.
Thank you. On the advice of Mr. McGinley, I'd like to go back in the agenda and talk about the minutes. Is there a motion to,
Villeneuve.
what?
Anyway, go ahead.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the October meeting?
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Thank you. I've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And who was the second?
Patrick McTeague.
Very good. Got a motion, and a second, without any further changes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Please show unanimous approval. All right. We move on to item number 2, Lennar Homes. Patrick, are you going to take the chair remotely, or how do you want to do this? Because I'm stepping down off the dais.
What's my other option than remotely?
Your other option would be to ask Mr. McGinley to chair while he's sitting here.
Got you. I mean, I'll give it a whirl from where I'm at, unless it's easier for staff or Bridget or anyone.
Okay, Mr. Villeneuve and I have conflicts. We are removing ourselves from both the virtual and the real dais here.
And we do still have a quorum? Okay.
Yeah, let's figure out who's on right now. Howard Nelson's gone and Carrie's gone, right?
Yes, and Ms. Eichner and Mr. Lambrechts are sitting in.
Okay. This is out.
It's up to the chair. He's calling the people.
Sure.
He's going, man. I'm worried he's not coming back.
Okay, let's go through disclosures. I think I'll have everybody. Mr. Maxey,
None.
Mr. McGinley,
None.
Mr. Reynolds,
None.
Mr. Falkinger,
None.
Ms. Eichner. Ms. Eichner, do you have any disclosures? Lisa? Mr. Lambert?
None.
Okay, I have none. Who else besides, anyone besides Ms. Eigner that didn't speak? Or I didn't call on? I think I got everybody. She's supposed to.
I
Chair,
don't, yeah, I don't see her on here anymore.
Chair Patrick, this is Mohammed.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure all the people who are even online, they get just the IT person to get them online in the hall over here. I know there were some people who wanted to come in, so I just want to make sure and they get the oath
Okay.
before they speak so that they are in the conversation. Thank you.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, I do not see Ms. Eichner on here any longer.
Okay, and I count 6 people that said that they don't have a conflict.
I have, yes, correct.
Okay, and so is that a quorum? Are we okay to proceed without her?
Yes.
I think so.
All right, so then we will hear item number 2.
Oh,
Yes.
no.
But
Yeah.
we need to make sure that the applicant understands, since we still have a majority plus 1 vote in order for them to get approval on the item. With the reduced number of members sitting on this item, how many members was that, Bridget?
6.
I'm sorry, I believe there's 5.
5, let me look.
Mr. McTeague, Mr. Reynolds, Mr. McGinley, Mr. Maxey, Mr. Lambrechts.
And Mr. Falkinger.
Oh, he's here.
Twice, man.
Oh, okay, I didn't know he was here. Okay, great. That is 6.
The name twice.
Could someone call Miss Eichinger and find out if she can jump back on?
Yeah, she was there a second.
Does anybody have Miss Eichinger's number?
I,
Mohammed or Shakela, if
What did he say?
Can you call what was her name?
Shelley Eichner.
Yeah,
Shelley Eichner, yeah, I think she got dropped, right?
Yeah, but can you call her and,
see if she can jump back on. I think the chair may be doing that right now.
oh, okay.
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 Mr. Falkinger, when did you arrive to the meeting?
In the beginning.
You
I've been
were here? Okay, thank you.
And
My
also,
apologies.
in the meantime, Chair, I just want to make sure before we start the meeting, who is in the waiting room from IT, I want to get a confirmation they got them over here.
Are you looking into that, Mr. Mohammed?
Yes, I got her number. I'm calling her.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
We'll wait a moment.
Is it worth moving on to the next agenda item and then we'll regroup or no? No, give it another minute.
I'm easy.
I mean, we have the quorum. You can move forward with 5 members. I just wanted the applicant to be aware of the concurring vote threshold.
Yeah, no, it was a very good point.
If she doesn't pick up, then yeah, we got it. Or we warn him. And if he doesn't agree.
Let's see if Mr. Nelson has any luck here.
So yeah.
Doesn't sound like it.
Mr. Chair, I'd still go to the 3rd item and then we can text her, send her an email so we can get a hold of her so that we're not putting the applicant at a disadvantage.
Can somebody wake up.
Just
Carrie?
because she was on literally 5 minutes ago, so.
And somebody wake up
Over
Carrie.
the phone. Thank you.
They're trying right now. Let's see if they have any luck.
Perfect. And can we get Mr. Villeneuve back? And then we will
There he is. Nope.
call case number 3.
Oh, yes.
So why don't we table case number 2, the Lennar Homes case for a moment, and we'll take up case number 3. Mr. Lockery, Mr. Shine, are either of you ready? Both of you ready? You're sitting down, you're letting the junior guy do this? Really? Really? The question is, did he teach you everything he knew? All right, why don't we go through disclosures on this first? Mr. McTeague, any disclosures?
Conversation with attorney for the applicant.
Mr. Lambrick,
None.
Mr. Reynolds,
None.
Mr. Villeneuve,
I spoke with the attorney for the applicant. Oh, site visit as well, to the extent a site visit is possible for this particular application.
very good. Mr. Maxey,
Spoke with applicant's counsel.
Mr. McGinley,
Spoke with applicant's counsel and site visit.
Mr. Falkinger,
Applicant's counsel left me a voicemail, but I did not speak with him, and a site visit.
I don't think I've missed anybody except for myself, a brief non-substantive conversation with the applicant's counsel and several site visits.
Patrick McTeague, I also did a site visit last week.
Perfect. Mr.
All right.
Lockery?
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board. Robert Lockery on behalf of the applicant. This request before you tonight is for a variance from sections 4719.2 and 4725.3 of the ULDR related to a mixed-use project that you've probably all seen at the northwest corner of Federal Highway and Southeast 17th Street. What I would like to do, if I could, is give you a little history of the project itself, how we got here and why we're here tonight, and then give some graphics of the building, show you around the building, and then address specific conditions. First, this project, which actually just opened fairly recently, the residential units began to be occupied last month, and as many of you may know, the grocery store opened just this month. But it began about over 4 years ago, really about 4.5 years ago. Specifically back in the summer of 2016, the applicant began to meet with the city and work through different design elements of the project. And a formal submittal was made in November 14th. So just 4 years and 5 days ago from today. What I'd like to show you first of all is where the property is. As I said, it's the northwest corner of 17th Street and Federal Highway. It is in a zoning district that is B1, but surrounded by RO zoning district and CF at the northwest of the site. What this shows you here is the initial submittal that was made by the applicant back in November of 2016. And it's important to know that the issue that's before you tonight has not been ignored by the city nor the developer. When the city saw these plans, they immediately notified the developer in written comments that were issued in December of 2016 that we needed to provide specific evidence and information related to how the rooftop equipment would be treated on the property. And the way it was specifically worded, I think, is important. I wish it was a little highlighted a little bit better, but I don't know if you can read it, so I'll just read portions of it. This is the staff report back to the applicant. Confirm roof plan shows location of all mechanical equipment and includes spot elevations of all mechanical equipment to verify proposed screening adequately shields all equipment from view and or incorporate these elements into a seamless design treatment solution. Equipment should be centralized to the extent possible so it's not visible. In addition, indicate all mechanical equipment within the subject site on the site plan and elevations where applicable. So that resulted in many discussions with the city about many aspects of the project, but I want to make very clear that this specific element was one of the things that was discussed at great length. The architect, Roger Fry, who is here, along with the folks from RAM, who I see a number of them here, met with city staff during those ongoing months to talk about a lot of issues about the project, but in specifically the rooftop equipment. One of the things about this project that makes it different from some of the towers, for example, you see downtown, is that rather than do a chiller, which is one of those large structures you typically see on a tower, the architect and the applicant decided to go with basically a whole series of condensing units up on top of the roof. What this allowed them to do is not have that bigger structure on the roof, yet they still had to ensure that those structures would not be seen from the ground. So as a result of those discussions, a response was made to the city, And the written response clearly showed roof plan has been revised to show all rooftop equipment. Equipment has been close to the center of the roof as possible, and cross sections have been added to the building and also showing the parapet as it related to that project. And here's a copy of that actual plan, which again was the culmination of discussions both between the developer and the city. And those little black kind of gray boxes you can see, I don't know if you can actually see a hand on here, but these units right here, again, rather than do a central chiller, which would have extended significantly higher than the roof plane that you have, and when I show you the graphics of the building itself, I think you'll understand why. Instead of provide that type of mechanism, a whole lot of different units were provided on the site. In addition, there were cross sections clearly showing that the materials, here's a blow up, that the parapet was intended to obfuscate the view so that the folks on the ground could not see the equipment. And that's why the equipment was pulled away from the sides of the building and placed in the center of the building. So it was very clear, and this was the culmination of those discussions. What also is clear here is that the equipment as it was placed and as the plans provided did not have screening. The parapet was not 6 inches taller than the equipment. So, and that's really what leads us to the decision tonight. As I said, we went through that process of submitting back to the city in December of 2016. Finally, we received the city staff approval of the plans in March of 2017, went to the city's planning and zoning board in May of 2017, onto the commission in August of 2017, received our final DRC approval in 2017, and since then have gone through a number of site plan amendments, always clearly showing these elements in those plans. Parapet's gotten a little bit smaller in a little bit areas and a little bit bigger, but every one of those changes has been evaluated by the city as we've gone through the process. What I haven't shown here is when the actual building permit was issued, but a building permit was issued consistent with these plans, inspections were conducted, et cetera. It's really when we got to the final step of the CO process on the building. We'd had some discussions with city staff where they raised that this could be an issue as soon as about May or June of last year. And then in August, we received the official comment, which leads us here tonight. Again, the project as it's now been developed provides these units in strategic locations so that you don't see them from any side of the building. And I'll show you that in just a moment. The variance that we're asking for is kind of the extreme example. It's not typical. And even though it's extreme, you still don't see the equipment. But what we've really done is taken the tallest equipment, which is in a unit right here, and the shortest parapet, which is way over here, and figured out the difference so that the variance we're requesting provides for what could be deemed the maximum. But I want to make clear, we're not asking for a variance that gives us anything other than what has actually already been built on the site and what you see. And so I want to describe that briefly. This is a view of the building recently taken as you're looking to the northwest. And one of the things that is really important about this design is Roger, in designing it, took very careful care to make sure that this building would have certain elements of old Fort Lauderdale, be incorporated with different elements that not only reminded us of old Fort Lauderdale, but had a level of detailing that typically, you might not see in a lot of new construction. And among those was the spatial relationships of the parapet heights, of the window treatments, of the balconies, of the banding, to make sure it all fit from an architectural standpoint. One of the things he was very concerned about, I remember these discussions back in 2016-17, was a large structure up on top of the building or any other structures that would interfere with that view and the way the building looks. The result of that has been a product that meets the intent of the code by screening all the equipment, yet maintaining that architectural integrity. So just to take you around, there's a lot of sculpting on the building, the scalloped edges, different elements. Here, starting at the ground, again, you can see how we have columns. We've got the old eyebrows on this location. This almost reminds me of the old Publix. I hate to use a competitor. I'll get in trouble for that, I'm sure. The banding and materials, even around the garage, scallops. And what I'm trying to, of course, make clear is nothing in this project was done by accident. It was very carefully designed, it was very carefully organized, and it was presented to the city in that way, and the city reviewed it and adopted it that way. So this is not a case of us being before you tonight on something that was a mistake or that was missed or wasn't understood. To the contrary, the building was designed so that you had these clean lines at the top of the building, yet no visible appearance of the equipment that sits up on top of the roof. This was a view, by the way, looking south and looking north as you're headed up Federal Highway. Here's another view looking on 17th Street as you're driving to the west. Here's a view kind of dead on from across the street, looking across Federal Highway at the building. Again, you see the rounded edges, you see the elevator and stair towers, but you don't see any equipment in any of these views. This is a view a little bit further over. You can see actually some lights that are not counted against that, but no equipment. Here's a view a little bit further as you're driving south now on Federal Highway. And as you're coming from the west and driving east, again, you don't see any equipment. The only elements you really do see are these architectural elements, which are part of the design. Here you can see where you've got a lot of detailing on the building, but absolutely no appearance of the actual structures. So with that, we have prepared a package, and my associate and colleague, Andrew, has prepared a package as well that is before you tonight, identifying each one of the criteria and how this project meets it. We'd be happy to go over each one of those in detail or answer any questions you may have. I notice my 10 minutes is up. I apologize if I've taken up too much time.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the board online?
I have a question, Chair. When in the process was the staff notification? Because it seems like it was pretty much approved up to a certain point, and then you said that at some point you got notified by the city staff that this may be an issue. When was that? Was that prior to building permit approval? Prior to CO? Okay, so if you could answer that.
Certainly. So let me put it a different way. The discussion about the rooftop equipment began at the very beginning, and our solution was what was approved by the city and what you see out there. The issue of it not meeting the code requirement of being 6 inches taller than the equipment came out in field inspections by the inspectors when we were going for our final inspections.
On the CO?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, understood. So you had fully approved building permit plans with the architecture as is?
That's correct.
Okay, understood.
All right. Any members of the public either signed up in person or signed up virtually to speak on this?
We have Robert Given. Robert, if you could please unmute your mic so you can speak.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you up here.
Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep. Great. Yes. My name is Robert Given. Live in the immediate neighborhood.
Mr. Given, before you start, have you been sworn in?
Nope.
Beginning of the meeting? Bridget, can you please swear Mr. Given in?
Yes, Mr. Given, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go on, Mr. Given.
Thank you. I own 2 residential buildings on the north side of the subject building.
And Mr. Given, I'm sorry to interrupt you again. If you could just for the record state your full name and your address.
Sure. My full name is Robert E. Given, Jr., and my address is 1719 Southeast 10th Street, Fort Lauderdale, 33316.
Thank you.
So I own 2 buildings on the north side of the subject building at 413 and 404 Southeast 16th Street. We were asked if we could see the equipment. We have a 2-story building that's about 400 feet to the north side of this building. We went to the 2nd story of the building, could not see the equipment, and don't feel as though any screening is necessary from our properties. And we're happy that the project is open. We're using it every week, and would like to see construction complete in the area and no more construction equipment, blocking streets and what have you by putting up unnecessary, screening on the top of this building. But we want to thank everybody on the development side for creating the building. We love the grocery store, and we took great care in looking, with our residents around our buildings to see if we could see this equipment for them.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Given. Anybody else from the public? Mr. Lockery, did you have something to add?
I do. I apologize, Chair. I do have a letter of support that we received from our immediate neighbor to the northwest of the site. So if you all know, there's residential uses right there. And the neighbor who is directly across from this has written a letter of support of this variance. So I will hand that in as well to the city.
Perfect. And staff, are we hearing anybody else signed up to speak from the public?
No.
No? Let me close the public hearing. Any discussion or questions from the board? In that case, I will eagerly await a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
No. I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance allowing existing permitted parapet as stated in case number PLN BOA 201-00001.
I've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second it?
Second.
Wait, who is the second?
I did one. I heard someone else.
Jeff, was it you?
Yep.
Why don't we show Mr. Maxey as the second? If there's no further comments, why don't we do a roll call on this one?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Certainly. Vice Chair McTeague,
Yes.
Mr. Villeneuve,
Yes.
thank you. Mr. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Maxey,
Yes.
Mr. Lambrecht,
Yes.
Mr. Falkinger,
Yes.
and Chair Nelson.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you very much. This brings us back to agenda item 2. Have we been able to find Miss Eichner? Not that we've got a man hunt or woman hunt out for her.
So strange.
We have texted her and emailed her, but hasn't got a response.
Well, Ms. Gray, I'm going to step down from the chair, but
Do you want to give the warning though before?
Yeah, can we get confirmation from the applicant that they're content going forward with the 6-person rather than 7?
Exactly.
no, I hear that. So I think I'm going to step down before we ask
And
that
he'll do-
question.
Okay.
But that
Okay,
would be the
okay.
question for Ms. Gray, whether she wants to move forward with the shortened board or defer till we can have a full board hearing.
Right.
Dina Gray on behalf of the applicant. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's got to be right there.
Robert was taller than me. Dina Gray on behalf of the applicant, and it would be a preference to defer for a full board.
So Patrick, can I go ahead and make a motion to defer?
Please do, Mr. McGinley.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to defer case number PLN BOA 2009-0005 to the next, to the December meeting.
A second.
Thank you.
Mr. McTeague, you can call a vote.
Okay. I guess, or actually Bridget can call.
Okay, certainly. Mr. Reynolds,
Yes.
thank you. Mr. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Maxey,
Yes.
Mr. Falkinger,
Yes.
Mr. Lambrecht,
Yes.
and Vice Chair McTeague,
Yes.
unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
We missed you so much. We couldn't do it. We couldn't go on with it.
I know. I feel the love and the warmth.
Even through the plexi.
What? All right, that is the last item on our agenda. Sir, I do see you sitting in the audience. Are you waiting for a hearing or just like the decor? We're hanging out? Okay. In that case, any communications to the city commission?
No.
No? Anything for the good and welfare of the city? In that case, I'll wait for a motion to adjourn. Sir, yeah.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Wait, stop, Bert.
We have a communication.
Still wanted
from the
to
city
hit
commission
something.
To the board.
Oh. Speak up.
Tell us to dress better for these hearings? Hopefully this is on our wall suggestion to do something about the height of the wall issue.
Wait, you mean item number 2?
No, if you recall, we had reached out asking them to kind of clarify
Oh.
that issue.
All right, in response to the board's communication to the city commission about the ability to have higher fences, this is the response. Deputy Director Al Battle told the mayor that staff would evaluate and make recommendations to the commission regarding the fence issue. Al further noted that any changes to the code would require approval by P&Z board. We'd have to engage the community and would also need commission approval.
Got it. Thank you very much. And hearing that, is there a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn, Chair.
We are so adjourned.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.